everyone, and welcome to the top real scary videos caught on camera. Today, we're continuing the series with more videos showcasing unpredictable and dangerous situations, as well as important, valuable lessons to help keep you safe if similar events ever occur. Let's dive in. For our first clip, here's exactly why rock climbing is definitely not on my bucket list. Climber Cheech de la Roca was testing a brutal 12-finger crack in Squamish, a route known for pushing gear to its limits. Just feet from the top, one of his cams ripped free. In a heartbeat, he plummeted and slammed against a jagged ledge. When asked why he wasn't wearing a helmet, Cheech admitted his had broken days earlier, and he'd been too confident to wait for a replacement. Miraculously, he only suffered minor injuries. In fact, it was his split-second reflex, shoving himself away from the wall at the very last moment, that turned what should have been a catastrophe into a narrow escape.
Oh! Jesus!
This terrifying moment was captured on the dash cam of an elderly man cruising southbound on the Pacific Motorway near Bangalore on May 19th at 6:45 p.m. when, out of nowhere, a hammer hurtled off the ute in front and slammed into his windscreen at 100 kilometers per hour. Miraculously, he stayed calm, kept control, and walked away unhurt. On May 5th, 2019, Gerald Haywood went to visit his friend in Lawton, Oklahoma. However, one of the strangest things soon happened. As Haywood reached for the door, a doorbell camera captured the terrifying moment. A snake uncoiled from the porch light and latched onto his face. Panicked, he screamed for help, until a quick-thinking neighbor grabbed nearby sticks and neutralized the threat. Miraculously, Haywood survived with prompt first aid and no lasting injuries, a reminder to always stay alert at all times. Before we go on to the next clip, drop your country in the comments, and if you're enjoying this video, smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. I found this next clip on Reddit, and it was titled, "Good Samaritan Stops Cyclist from Hitting a Parked Car." But after watching it, I was speechless. This insane video happened on Mother's Day back in 2010, when a cyclist barreling downhill lost control and headed straight for a parked car until a passing sedan swerved across his path and slammed into him. You'd assume that would be fatal, but he walked away with only minor injuries.
Oh, man!
In this video, recorded at the Bronx Zoo in New York City, a little kid stood by the glass, watching a gorilla from a distance, probably thinking it was the coolest thing ever. But then, out of nowhere, the massive silverback suddenly charged straight at the glass, slamming into it. It looked like he was about to burst right through. Luckily, the glass held, but the shock on those people's faces says it all. On April 26, 2025, a 10,000 horsepower speedboat was gearing up for a record-breaking run. At those velocities, even a tiny misstep sends you flying. And that's exactly what happened. The boat caught too much air, the nose lifted, and in an instant, it flipped end over end and shattered across the water. Yet somehow, thanks to the cockpit's engineering, both racers walked away alive. This next video captures every building engineer's worst nightmare. On April 11th, 2025, at a Herald Street construction site in Victoria, a worker stood on a small concrete roof using equipment when the entire section suddenly gave way. Nearby colleagues dashed to safety as the roof collapsed beneath him. Miraculously, the worker escaped with only minor injuries. The general contractor has released few details, and an investigation is ongoing to pinpoint the cause. On the morning of April 27, 2025, at around 8 a.m., chaos erupted at a construction site in Nanjing, Jiangsu Province. On the 23rd floor of a high-rise, a massive yellow crane suddenly tipped over, its 70 to 80-meter boom smashing onto the road below with an earth-shaking roar. Miraculously, it missed traffic and buildings. But inches away, a man glued to his phone faced certain doom. Surveillance shows him freeze, almost sidestep, then press himself tight against concrete blocks as steel thundered overhead. Some call it luck, but his split-second reaction likely saved his life. In late April 2025, a man in Pyramiden, an Arctic town in Svalbard, Norway, came face-to-face with an unexpected wildlife. The video opens with gunshots echoing as a man bolts for his life. In his panic, he drops his rifle and leaps onto a nearby snowmobile. Throttling forward, he finally puts distance between himself and the polar bear, an apex predator known to stalk humans. Even a high-caliber rifle can't guarantee a kill, so his smartest move was to ditch the fight and speed away, turning the snowmobile into his best defense.
ಮ್ಯಾಗ ಹೊಂಚಿ ಭಾಳ ಐತೆ ಮ್ಯಾಗ ಅಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಭೀಮ್ಗಳು ಭಾಳ ಅದಾವು.
In a village in South India's Vijayapura district, a demolition attempt nearly turned into a tragedy. Footage shows an excavator pulling at the plaster of an old water tank as a crowd gathers to watch. The plan was simple: remove the plaster, then bring down the tank. But the structure was far weaker than they thought. Suddenly, the tank gave way, crashing straight down onto the machine, and for a brief, horrifying moment, everyone feared the worst for the driver. But he climbed out, unscathed, a heart-stopping reminder. Even simple demolitions demand careful planning. On July 12, 2017, in Kathmandu, Nepal, 14-year-old Satya Sapkota was walking home after heavy rain had flooded the city's roads. But as she tried to cross the flooded road at Samakusi Chowk, she unknowingly stepped right into an open drain and was instantly sucked in. Miraculously, Satya reappeared alive, emerging from a flooded ditch after floating through an underground sewer. If you ever needed a reason not to overtake in a blind spot, this clip is it. A driver tries to pass a truck, unaware that another truck was speeding towards him in the opposite lane. By the time he sees it, it's almost too late. But somehow, the oncoming truck stops just in time, avoiding a horrific collision by inches. Sorry, I don't have more information on this, but if you do, let's hear it in the comments. On February 20th, 2020, wild weather swept through Perth, Australia, when a massive tree crashed onto a four-wheel drive. Bystanders leapt from their vehicles and rushed to the wreck, desperate to help. Rescue teams pried open the twisted metal to free the trapped woman. Miraculously, she walked away without serious injuries, though she was taken to Royal Perth Hospital for observation. This next clip feels like something straight out of the Final Destination movie. On April 6th, 2025, along the BR-101 highway near Palhoça in southern Brazil, a tanker truck carrying ethanol overturned and ignited. A large fire spread rapidly, engulfing nearby vehicles. A man and woman in the closest car managed to get out safely just before their vehicle caught fire. The blaze then spread to about 27 cars and 3 trucks. Thankfully, no fatal outcome recorded, although 5 people, including the tanker driver and his wife, sustained injuries.
بگو گازه بره بگو بره داره میتره که اوه 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 یا علی نتره که اینجا همه خارج شد
On April 26th, 2025, just before noon local time, an intense fire broke out in the Sina container yard at Shahid Rajai port in Iran. Moments later, containers of ammonium perchlorate, an oxidizer used in rocket fuel, detonated, claiming the lives of 15 firefighters and everyone inside the administrative offices. The blast's shockwave shattered windows and damaged buildings for miles, including one collapse. Tragically, authorities confirmed 70 fatalities and more than 1,200 injuries. An official investigation is now underway to determine how the fire reached those containers. Never trust your GPS blindly, and for one driver in Indonesia, that advice could have saved him a dive. Rudy Heru Comandono was following Google Maps when he suddenly found himself driving off an unfinished bridge. Confused by his GPS rerouting, he skipped the slip road, went through a gap in a concrete barrier, and plunged 40 feet straight down. Miraculously, he escaped unscathed. Later, he insisted it wasn't his fault, blaming the GPS for misleading him. But sometimes, common sense should override the screen. On April 10th, 2025, a family's trip to New York City turned into an unimaginable tragedy. Agustin Escobar, global CEO of rail infrastructure at Siemens Mobility, and his wife, Mercè Camprubi Montal, global commercialization manager at Siemens Energy, had arrived in New York from Barcelona with their 3 children to celebrate 2 milestones, Mercè's 40th birthday and their son's 9th. Just after 3 p.m., the family boarded a Bell 206 Long Ranger 4 for a scenic tour of Manhattan. 15 minutes into the flight, a rotor component reportedly detached, causing a catastrophic mechanical failure. The helicopter spiraled out of control and plunged into the Hudson River near Pier 40, flipping on impact. Tragically, everyone on board, including the pilot, 36-year-old Sean Keyes Johnson, a former U.S. Navy veteran, passed away. Keep this in mind the next time you hit the highway. Not every driver is in full control. This dash cam clip, captured on September 7th, 2023, along the A30 Sherborne Road near Perth-Condell, Dorset, serves as a chilling wake-up call. The video shows a minibus moving into a filter lane as if to turn right, but instead of turning, it suddenly veers straight into oncoming traffic and clipping a red car so hard its rear end lifts off the road. Thankfully, there were no fatalities, but 3 people were injured. Dorset police arrested the 35-year-old Yeovil driver, who admitted to dangerous driving, driving without a license, and no insurance. He's now serving 4 years in prison and banned from driving for 7 years. At 7:58 a.m., a FedEx Boeing 767-3S-2F lifted off from Newark Airport, bound for Indianapolis. But just minutes later, disaster struck. A bird slammed into the right engine, igniting a fireball that sent flames shooting into the sky. The pilots acted fast, declaring an emergency and turning back toward Newark. On the ground, air traffic controllers and emergency crews scrambled into action. At 8:07 a.m., just 9 minutes after takeoff, the aircraft touched down, still trailing fire. 2 Port Authority fire trucks rushed in, and firefighters battled the blaze, extinguishing it before it could spread. Miraculously, no one was injured. And for our bonus video, we have a clip of a guy who decided to do one of the dumbest things ever caught on camera. This guy thought it was a great idea to feed a wild brown bear, but the bear didn't see a friend, it saw lunch. Luckily, the guy managed to leap onto his car just in time, barely escaping what could have been a fatal mistake.